shawty, say what's your price? Just to back it up, you can hold my ice. Now let's say you owe me back like it's money I spent. No, I'm just kidding. I just heard that song, so I was still like feeling it, you know. But hi guys, welcome back. So I know we are literally about to close out 2021. So I was like, let me go ahead and do this real estate part 2, real estate terms part 2 before the end of the year, so we could just get this series done. So the series could be done. And then when y'all call me next year for opening a house, I'm like, did you listen to those terms? Do you know what's going on? No, I'm just kidding. But yes, welcome back. Again, I want to thank you guys for supporting me this entire YouTube journey, this entire year, from Instagram, wherever I know you from, even if you're a subscriber from random. I just appreciate all the love and support. So yes, this is going to be a real estate video. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so I know some of the words and some of the terms that even in part 1 and some now, they sound super like, because I'm giving you like word dictionary, they sound super intense and like you may not understand it fully, but when you're in the situation, it would all make sense. So let's just jump right into this. Like I told you, so I gave you 6 words on the first video, part 1, and then now I'm gonna give you another 6 words. So it is 12. I got my counting together, y'all. I know how to count. Hey. So yes, it is 12 real estate terms that I think are just like most important, like I said in the previous video, most important in the real estate transaction, and that I want you guys to know. I know I'm like super cozy today. You know, it's officially winter here in LA, so we have to act accordingly. So I got me a turtleneck. But yes, so real estate term number 1 for this video. So term number 6 is going to be, basically it's called an RPA, which is real estate purchase agreement, but some people just call it like a PSA, which is purchase and sale agreement, which is pretty much a purchase and sale agreement is referred to a written contract between the buyer and seller. Basically, an RPA, or purchase and sale agreement, pretty much outlines the terms of the sale and purchase of real property. Real property being the house that you're purchasing or selling. Real property is a home that sits on the land. We'll save that for, you know, another time. So buyer and seller are formally initiating their commitment to sell and purchase the home. So basically you guys are basically writing on the dotted line, signing it off that we are going through with this process, and that you know, these are the terms and conditions. So in the RPA is where you'll see like contingencies, which I did in the first video. A contingency is, you know, this sale will happen if. So those are the type of things that are in the contract. Escrow amount of time, how long you plan for the contract to be in escrow, like how long we're going to be in contract. And like, this is all just basically an outline and an agreement. You can always make, you know, your agent or your escrow company can always make addendums, which is basically us signing like a separate agreement, like we're changing this. We're still in contract, but this is going to be a change. So that's when an addendum is. Once the RPA is signed, it pretty much just signifies that you guys are officially under contract on the real property, which is the home that you guys are purchasing and selling. And like I said, you can always do an addendum to make changes, but this is the real nitty gritty. And everybody has to uphold each party has to uphold their side of the contract. If not, other things happen, and we won't get into all of that right now. I'm just here to let you know what signifies that the sale and the purchase has begun, which is the RPA, or known as PSA. This is going to take me right into my next term, which is number 8. Is appraisal. Your lender orders an appraisal. So an appraisal is required to gather an estimated value of the piece of property. Real property, meaning, again, your house that you're either purchasing or selling. So during the home sale, the mortgage lender will send out a professional appraiser to opinion the value of the home. Now, appraisal is just so many things around appraisal. So actually here in California, they've actually now come up with a Fair Appraising Act where you have to appraise somebody's home regardless of who it is, or you're up for going through the Bureau of Real Estate, which is not very good. So yes, so an appraisal is pretty much where they value the home. So appraisals either make or break that contract, RPA or PSA. If the home appraises too low than the listing price, some sellers are open for negotiation. Most buyers definitely for sure want to negotiate. Let's say, like I said in my last video, some cases people are appraising, they think the house is worth $850,000, but when the appraisal comes in, it's actually worth $700,000. So it's like, that's an extra $150,000 that you were asking for that it's not even worth. So we're absolutely not giving that to you. So we can renegotiate the contract and create an addendum for the new purchase price. But appraisals are so important to the transaction, because it lets you really know like the value of the house. And it's also really important for the lender, because obviously they're not going to give you a loan for $750,000 or $850,000 when the house is only worth $700,000. So that means technically your lender is overpaying for the house. So they're not even going to allow you to make that decision. You can always negotiate, but some sellers are just so set in stone on their listing price, and they say, hey, okay, we'll just back out of the whole transaction altogether. Like, we'll find somebody else. But it's like, some people think if they go to a different lender, the appraiser will be different, or, the appraisal will come in higher, or, some people, I will say that is why some sellers want you to go through their lender, because then they know the appraiser or they know the lender. And they can child, it's so many ins and outs to this game. I'm not even gonna get into that, but appraisal is very, very important, like I said, because it pretty much makes or breaks the transaction. It lets us know true value of the home in the area that it's in compared to the rest of the homes on the block. So the appraiser is just going off of base specs of the house, room to bathroom ratio, square footage space, and then comparing it to the rest of the homes in the area that have sold within excuse me, I don't know if you guys saw that spit or not, but it's basically homes, and then they're comparing homes that have either sold in the last 6 months, or I know some appraisers, if like it's not a lot of sales in the area, I think they may go back up to the last 3 years. So this is just, it happens to everybody. Some people do, so this is why it's important for the RPA, because some people do put appraisal contingencies in their contract. You know, I think your house is priced too high, so I'm not gonna go, the sale isn't official until the appraisal comes back. So, you know, that is a contingency that can always be put in the contract. But genuinely, most appraisers are exactly on point. So that is appraisal. And you know, if you guys need any more details on any of these words, call me, text me, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Real estate term number 9, I have NHD, which NHD stands for Natural Hazard Disclosure Report, which here in California is very, very, very important. Natural hazard means the earth, natural disasters. Here in California, that would be fire, earthquake, you know, flooding if you live like, you know, mudslides if you live like water areas, or if you're like up in the hills, like on top of the hills. So California is actually very just my personal opinion, California is a pretty much high hazard state because so many things can happen when you own a home. Natural hazard disclosure reports are required here in California from the seller going to the buyer of the property, and that is simply because you're disclosing like, hey, I live on the top of this hill. It hasn't happened to my house yet, but we are in a high slide area, or you know, which basically means like mudslides, like, you know, your house could, if anything happens, if the earthquake goes wrong, or you know, if something really drastic happens as far as the weather goes, your house could potentially slide down. I know in fire hazard areas, I know obviously you have to disclose and say, hey, I'm in a high fire zone. Generally the agents are pretty much aware, and we all tell our, you know, buyers, you know, of the property, like, hey, obviously this is way up in the top of the hill, they had fires here last year, so you know, this is a fire zone. So even when you're showing people homes, generally people already have an idea of like what their situation is, but we've disclosed this to you in this report, and now it is up to you whether you want to continue or not. That report is typically, and it is a paid report, like, so this isn't something that, you know, people are just assuming, or this is information that somebody is just gathering. This is like a paid report coming from a natural hazard company, you know, where they get this information from. And I know on some of them you can kind of see like maps, and like it's a very blatant detailed report. I want to say like sometimes the report, depending on where, it's like 100 and maybe like 25 pages, but they literally break down the entire land for you. Even if you're maybe like 10 to 15 miles out from like the major fire zone, they still show you the complete map of where the hazard begins and where the hazard ends. So super detailed, super helpful, and here in California especially, it's always needed. I don't know why I'm talking with my hands, sorry guys. So which also takes me into my next word, real estate term number 10, which is title search. So like I said in a previous video, I think when I was talking about escrow, title search is done by a title company. You always get a title report, and so basically a title search, it examines public records for the history of the home, including sales, purchases, taxes, and any other type of liens like previous owners. It's pretty much like basically like the cheat sheet for the house, or like, you know, from when it was built all the way up until, you know, recent time, everything that has happened on the home. Even when you purchase the home, you've now been added to the title search. So also in a title search, it will come up if there's, like I said, any type of liens or if permits are not accurate. And then this also will come into review before the close of escrow if there is anything that can or cannot be done. So let's say, you know, John David from 1925 owed $40,000 to, you know, such and such, and, you know, that comes up, you know, before they sell you the property, they have to figure out what's going on with that situation. Either the title or escrow company will figure out what's going on with that situation, how can we get it closed, and basically they give you like an insurance. It's called title insurance, which will come up. I'll talk about that, you know, in a different type of video as well. Title insurance pretty much covers you as the new homeowner, that everything that happened in the past is cleaned up. You're not attached to any of it if anybody tries to come for you, or, you know, all type of things. I mean, in my experience, I haven't had it, but also when I was working in escrow, I knew of a couple of situations where things were on the title report that, you know, it ended up even taking longer to even close the sale of the home, because it was like little things that we needed to investigate and, you know, get official letters. So you'll always get an official letter that will go in your file with the sale of the home, that all accounts were closed and there's nothing that you have to worry about moving forward with this property. So yes, anytime you purchase or sell your house, make sure you check out that title search report, because it definitely gives you pretty much the entire history and everything on the home that you're purchasing. So next we're going to go into my 11 term. So we're almost done. Just sit a little tighter, just hold it right there. We're almost done. So my 11th term is closing costs. And I feel like anytime I talk to people about purchasing or selling the home, this is like the most important thing that people are concerned with, are closing costs. And closing costs are separate from down payment. So yeah, you put, you know, either your 3 to 5% on an FHA loan or your 20% down on a conventional loan. Yes, that was your down payment, but now closing costs are separate from that. And I want everybody to know that and make that distinction very, very clear. So that's your down payment. Closing costs are pretty much how everybody gets paid from the transaction. And closing costs are mostly split between seller and buyer. Both have closing costs. I mean, now there are situations where seller may assist in closing costs and give you some type of credit towards closing costs. That is in all means possible. I'm not gonna hold you to it. Some agents may, you know, assist in closing costs. I'm also not going to hold you to it. Some lenders may insist in closing costs, but closing costs are always going to be there for sure. And it's just something that you really can't get around. But like I said, I really want to make the distinction that your down payment and your closing costs are two totally separate things. So closing costs are an assortment of fees, including your lender fees, your title company fees, if there were attorneys, insurance companies, tax authorities, if you're getting a condo or like a townhome, maybe you have HOA fees, the real estate agents fees, and then escrow fees, or just anything, you know, anything else that has to be paid. These are going to be your closing costs. And closing costs are usually paid at the time of the closing of the real estate transaction. So it all happens at the end, like after your lender has approved your loan, after your appraisal has come back with the right amount, and then you get the final amount for your loan. So when you get the clear to close, this is when all the closing costs are accumulated, and pretty much everybody's fees are included in this. And I know some people are like, well, you know, why do, you know, trust me, why do you have to pay, you know, for this? Why do you have to pay for this? What do you have to pay for? I don't want everybody to get overwhelmed thinking that, you know, it's so much stuff to pay for when you have a house and da-da-da-da. But this is also, you know, just like when you buy a car, or, you know, pretty much when you do anything, everybody has to get paid. You know, everybody has to get paid for the work that they brought to the table. So yes, I want everybody just to know that closing costs may vary. Like I said, some closing costs are negotiable, but still, like I said from the top, down payment and closing costs are totally different things. And sometimes your closing costs are pretty much cheaper than your down payment. So, you know, sometimes if you work with a lender, they'll say, hey, this is your down payment, but maybe let's leave like 10 to 20 extra $1,000 for closing costs. So, you know, that's the situation. You always have to have money to, you know, close the real estate transaction, or you know, it won't happen. So a lot of times when you hear people say like they want to see proof of funds, they want to see that you have the money for the down payment and that you will still have money, extra money left over for the closing costs. So, you know, if you see that proof of funds, you know, just know that's pretty much the situation. And that is for confirmation pretty much to go through with the sale, and that is for the seller to entrust, the seller and their agent to entrust in you within this real estate transaction, that, you know, you're not playing around, like you actually have money, and basically you won't be scraping up pennies at the end of the day when it's time to get it done, and, you know, we get the clear to close. So that is that, and which leads me into my last and final real estate term, which is the most exciting part of the transaction, which is number 12, which is closing, the final closing. So closing is pretty much after you've paid your closing costs, you've got the clear to close from the lender saying that, hey, I'm ready to give the money, I'm ready to disperse the money to my buyer so they can give it to the seller. And it's, like I said, it's, just to be clear, this isn't like going directly to the buyer to give the seller. I was just giving a little, but it goes through escrow or the title company. So basically your lender is saying, hey, it's a wrap, we're all done, everything is perfect. So closing is when the home sale is considered final, which typically includes all signatures on required documents. Your lender will require you to, if you're the buyer, the lender will require you to sign your loan documents. The sellers will be signing over the deed. And I know depending on where you are, some of that is done earlier in the transaction on the seller side. I know for the buyer, like basically your loan is not, like you're not in the clear to close until like a little bit after your appraisal comes back, and you know, that's another video, I'll get into that as well. But so basically all paperwork is signed and finalized, all money has been exchanged. So here in California, your sale is not officially closed until the deed from the home has been officially recorded at the county clerk's office. And that is pretty much the last and final step. So even working in escrow, or, you know, just now where I'm at now, even with some of my real estate transactions, like when it comes time to sign for the county clerk to record the deed, sometimes it's like a hit or a miss, because you may not get the funds till late. You know, it just depends on maybe the bank, or if it falls on a holiday where the county clerk's office isn't open, or, you know, just things like that. So no closing happens until the county has physically recorded and stamped that deed that the transaction is done. So once all of these items have been completed, you are now homeowners officially. You could go get those keys from your agent and kick the door down. I mean, literally kick the door down, because it's your home now. So yes, thank you for tuning into this. I did not want this to be super long, and I tried to pick like real estate terms that were really easy to explain. But like I said, I wanted to finish this video before we went into 2022. In 2022, I'm gonna be giving you guys so much more real estate content, as I am still working, as I am still learning, and I will just be taking you guys through the ins and outs of the transaction. The kids are here and they're about to start, so back to mommy duties I go. I hope everybody has a great rest of the holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will probably be doing like 2 more Christmas videos, but as far as work goes, I am out of office until 2022. Love you guys. See you later.